continue.
And yep, we're live, Emmanuel. So none of the bad language. No, I'm joking. We can go from bad language on this one. So listen, look, folks. Thank you for downloading a brand new episode of the Flixters. This is episode 243, and with me, joining me, is not Duval. We've got Emmanuel, who's filling in for Duval. By the way, where is Duval? What's he doing, man? Duval, where are you?
Got no idea.
He's gallivanting around.
Absconded.
He's across the country. He's somewhere in Italy, and he's having a good time. He's partying it up. So Duval, if you've downloaded this somehow, yeah, we don't miss
He's
you.
probably in Italy watching White Lotus season
Exactly. White Lotus season 2. Oh, mate, have you seen it? It's good, right? I like it. Yeah, right. You know what? That's one of the shows we actually haven't spoken about, White Lotus, and I think it's because Duval, he missed it. I don't think he's actually into it.
Okay.
But I mean, yeah, I like White Lotus. It's really good. So thank you, Emmanuel, for joining me on this one. We're doing episode 243. We've got we've got two big movies. One massive movie, which we've been expecting for a while, and one which was like, oh yeah, I totally forgot this is going to be hitting Netflix. So we've got The Flash, which Emmanuel and I are going to get into. So folks, please be aware, there will be some spoilers. And there's going to be Extraction Part 2, which we've already seen, and we're going to speak about that as well. So I'm assuming there's going to be spoilers on that one. So stick around for the next kind of 45, 50 minutes, possibly even an hour. We hope you enjoy the show. Let's get on with it. So before we do anything, let's do the shout outs. And usually it's Duval doing
shouting out today.
Yeah, so we do the shout out. So first of all, we got a shout out Zakharov, if you're listening to this show, I just got to say, mate, you got to come on the show. Listen, we've had Emmanuel, he's a regular, Ciel Noir, she's turned up on the show. It's now your time to get onto the show and speak to us about the stuff that you've been watching. I don't know.
It was the one that you had, was it last week or the week before?
We were supposed to have Zakharov on the show, but his people and our people were kind of
still in talks.
Yeah, exactly, still in talks. So Zakharov, I want to shout you out. I want to say thanks for listening. Thanks for shouting us out as well, and for keeping in touch with us. And we love you. We want you to come to the show. The other person that I want to shout out is Vegas Chiz. She's got a great Instagram page, always kind of interacting with us on our Instagram. So letting us know about the show and, keeping in touch with us and letting us know what she's watching. And obviously I have to shout out Ciel Noir, who we've been messaging, who we're going to get onto the show. So we're probably going to do one where we get Ciel Noir and Emmanuel onto the show as well. So that'll be a good one. Where we get the four of us on there and we can start talking movies and TV shows. So those are the shout outs. Keep listening. And if you want to be a shout out on the show, just hit us up on Instagram. Let us know what you're watching. Let us know what you're not watching. And we can speak about that as well. So let's move on to movie news. A bit light this week, but that's because we've got some major reviews that we want to get through. But check this out. So, Emmanuel, what do you make of this news? I've been reading about this, mate. So, Marvel, Hulk, and Universal. What do you reckon? Is it coming back to Marvel, the Hulk?
Yeah. I don't know. I only heard about this one recently.
Yeah.
One of the little birdies that I've lent from Duval basically told me about this. And it's the question mark is, has Marvel brought Hulk back from Universal? Though it's not, it's nothing officially confirmed to my knowledge. The sudden appearance of the Incredible Hulk, Edward Norton, on Disney Plus has led to some fans to speculate that has a deal been made? Has Marvel got the rights from Universal?
Yeah.
Nobody officially knows, really.
Yeah. But isn't it interesting, after all these years, they finally got it on the Disney Plus. So it's got a home now alongside all the other kind of, Marvel movies. In the US, I think this is just for the US, I think Disney have got the Spider-Man movies as well. maybe in the UK on Disney Plus as well. Maybe that's the case as well. So all of these movies, they're all kind of Disney wants them on their platform.
Mm.
But going forward, do you reckon that they could do a like what they did with Sony? You know, they share
What,
the
like Spider-Man?
responsibility. Yeah,
Yeah, I reckon so. I mean, when there's money involved, people are going to talk and trying to, make a win-win situation like they did with Spider-Man.
yeah,
Where a deal was struck with, between Sony Pictures and Marvel, where I think it was um, they were allowed to bring Spider-Man into the MCU
mm,
with a new reboot in exchange that Spider-Man would be allowed to appear in Disney produced Marvel team up
yeah.
films. So yeah, anything could be possible.
It's worked out really well for them, hasn't it? Sony and
Yeah,
Marvel.
yeah, it's the best of both worlds.
I mean, is it? Do we need a Hulk movie? Should we get a Hulk movie, like a standalone Hulk movie? Like, where does he fit in? Because obviously, all the Avengers, Endgame, and Infinity War, that all happened. We've seen him a little bit in She-Hulk. We
And
know
we
that
saw
his
him in
son's about.
with Thor, wasn't it, as well? Um,
Oh yeah. What did we see him in? Yeah, we saw him in.
it,
Yeah, he's kind
uh,
of done little team ups.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it would be interesting to see what happens on that one. Obviously, we're not holding our breath on this one because we don't know. They could still be, managing things. So we'll see what happens. Let's move on to DC now. And obviously, we've got a lot of DC that we're going to be speaking about later on in the show. But I just wanted to kind of mention this one. So Andy Muschietti, he's the director of The Flash. He was behind the It movies, and he's kind of come from this horror background, and then rumor has it that
Mm,
James Gunn and Peter Safran, they've chosen Andy Muschietti to direct the new Batman movie. Now, people must
yeah.
be when they hear this, people must be thinking, "Well, hang on a second, we've already got a Batman director, right? The Matt Reeves, he's been doing the no." DC James Gunn wants to do another Batman called The
Mm,
Brave and the Bold. And apparently, Andy Muschietti is going to be the director of that one. So, Emmanuel, I mean, where the hell does this all fit in? Like, is it alongside Robert Pattinson one? Is it after Robert Pattinson one? Like, where are we seeing this, man? This is crazy.
I don't know. I don't know, but they've
Mm,
obviously seen something this guy, so
yeah,
that they want to, let him have a go at it. He could be the next, action movie director sort of thing.
yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, Brave and the Bold. I mean, it's a great. I mean, look, it's a great title. It's interesting, and I have my reservations about the whole thing, and I'll speak about
mm,
that when we get into the Flash. But this idea of having a Batman, Robert Pattinson's Batman, and by the way, man, I was a big fan of that movie, The Batman. I didn't think he was going to be good in it. I didn't think I
yeah,
was going to like it as much as I did. But at the
yeah,
end of it, I was like, you know what? This is
he
actually
didn't do too bad of a job, did he? It
yeah,
was,
this was actually a decent Batman movie. So we'll see how this Andy Muschietti does with
yeah,
Batman. A different kettle of fish. It's a bit darker, so I don't know where they're going. All right, let's move on now. Now, Emmanuel, I'm not sure if you heard about this. Tom Holland. He's
mm.
decided. He's
What has he
decided.
decided?
He's decided to take a year off or some time off from acting
Uh,
because apparently his new show, which is called The Crowded Room, is airing on Apple Plus. It dropped maybe kind of like a week ago or something like that. And in it, he plays. I haven't seen this, by the way, but in it,
right,
I think he plays kind of a person with kind of split personality. He's got maybe DID,
right.
and apparently it took a toll on him. And he's come out and he said that because of what he invested into this role, he needs to take a break because he put everything into this role. But
Was it
also,
like he's done with acting or something,
yeah,
or
but
what?
also could it be because the show has been slated? The reviews of this show have like I mean I haven't seen the show, so I can't really comment. I can't say if it's good or bad, but
Yeah,
some of the reviews that I've read, the critics have been kind of like saying it's basically shit. Like, you know,
He
there's
sounds like Tom Holland. Sounds like he's doing this. You know,
he's
like.
doing but and then as he was being interviewed, so those reviews have been coming out. The critics haven't liked it, and then at the
Mm,
same time, they've been asking him about Spider-Man 4, and then what he's turned around and has said he doesn't know much about the storyline. It's in development. It's going to
mm.
happen. We know that it's going to happen, but he's going to take a break from acting. I mean, yeah, fair play. I mean, if you want to take a break from acting, fair play. But do you
I
reckon
don't know. From what you're saying to me, it sounds like it's a strategy of shit has not done well. The shit has hit the fans. We
Yeah,
need you, Tom, to lay low
yeah,
until all of this blows over,
yeah,
and then you can try and come back.
yeah, yeah,
Um, he from what I know, he was never like one of these Disney kids where he's had the image of of being a young actor and
mm,
doing Disney, and
yeah,
then trying to like how they try to grow up and play different roles.
exactly.
So, so I
Mate,
think
absolutely.
yeah,
You know,
I think that's what he's trying to do is basically
yeah.
he wants to move away from this being known as Spider Man, but I feel like it plays to him if he owns it.
You know
Like,
what? Absolutely. If he owns that role and he knows that he's going to get a big paycheck, you know, it could also be, you know, if he turns around and he's like, look, hey, Marvel, look, I make other movies and they are successful, or I do other
mm,
stuff and they're successful. So, you know, you need to pay me more. Like, you know,
mm.
because whatever I do turns to gold. Like, you know, kind of like the Midas touch. It's kind of like
I mean, he can't exactly say that just yet, though.
he
I
can't.
don't think he has he hasn't. I don't think he's cut his chops uh, as
Which
much as.
actor in Hollywood do you reckon that can do that? Where if they go off and do other stuff, and then it does really well, and then you know that this guy is bankable. No matter what they do, it's like a great movie.
Um, oh well.
I mean, people
Uh,
could say The Rock. You could say that, but although he's had a few misses,
I've forgotten his name now. Inception. And
um,
Catch Me If You Can.
oh mate, Leonardo DiCaprio.
That's
That's it.
him. Yeah,
He's got the
yeah,
Midas touch.
yeah.
Yeah,
He has. He has.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I totally forgot about that. Yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio. He's got like, you know, you put him in something, the movie does really, really well. So
Mhm.
possibly maybe Tom Holland, you know, if he gets to that
Yeah.
kind of a level. But yeah, I just found it interesting the fact that, you know, the reviews of this new show came out weren't so great. He's decided
Mm.
to take a break away from acting. And yeah, so we'll see what happens with that one. Listen, look, we've kept it kind of light on the movie news because there is so much stuff that we need to kind of get through. So we're going to kind of move on. But remember, folks, every week we bring you movie news and bring you all sorts of stuff. So keep it up with the Flixters, like and subscribe on YouTube. You can watch this episode. Actually, I'll be putting this episode up on YouTube, so you'll be able to see the lovely, beautiful faces of Emmanuel and myself doing all crazy sorts of stuff. Right, new on streaming now, Duval. Sorry, Emmanuel. Uh, sorry, mate. I haven't seen this. I haven't seen this. Tell me, have you seen this?
What, Charlie Brooker's The Black Mirror?
Yeah, I haven't because I know this has dropped, right?
Yeah, yeah. This one's a new season 6 on
Hmm.
Netflix. Um, if you've not seen Black Mirror, watch it. It's worth a watch. It has 6 different episodes and
Yeah,
they vary in length. I mean, nowadays it seems to be the new thing where um, you tell the story and each story can vary between like 40 minutes to 80 minutes.
right.
It's just the new thing of you only
Media.
use the time in order to be able to successfully tell that story for
Yeah,
whatever it is. But yeah, Charlie Brooker, a Black Mirror, really good, and it's with this season, it's actually pulling in some decent names. Annie Murphy, Selma Hayek.
yeah.
I
I've
don't want to
heard about
mention her
that one.
surname because I don't want to think that she's married because she's still hot. But
Oh,
um,
mate. You know, with the whole Salma Hayek thing, it was in the news. Like, apparently, that episode specifically has been getting a lot of stuff because of the I don't know much about that episode, but it's kind of a bit weird about how that is and everything like that. But yeah, is that a decent one?
I haven't
Salma.
watched any of the episodes, but
Okay.
I'm definitely going to watch that Selma Hayek one.
Oh
And then
yeah,
there's Zazie Beats as well. Is
she's
been
great.
she's in this one, and then there's Mahala Harold. She
Okay.
was in there was that financial TV series. I forgot.
Success? No,
Uh,
not Succession.
no,
No.
not Succession. No, no. It'll come to me. It's
All right,
gonna
it'll
bug
come
me
back to
now.
us. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, there's some decent names in this season.
So
Worth watch.
he manages to pull in kind of like a few big names. I remember in kind of one of the other ones, he had like Jodie Foster, he had
Mm,
Bryce Dallas Howard directing a few episodes. Like, he has like some big people coming into the show. Why?
yeah.
What's the appeal of it? Why?
Well, I mean, I think because you get eyeballs.
Mm,
So you get when a show's gaining eyeballs for it's not something that you're gonna want to just be like, oh nah, it's not for me or whatever.
yeah.
We can look at other shows like Heroes when when they start getting bigger and better, or they're
Hmm.
having more interesting topics and they're being talked about, then it draws in all every other celebrity wants to jump on board.
Yeah, yeah,
So
it's true. And the storylines are really kind of quirky and
they're
like
different.
science fiction, and it
Yeah,
almost some of them for me, some of them have a lot of that kind of the Twilight Zone vibe to them. Like,
yeah, and there's several of them which almost predict the future,
yeah,
like
yeah,
really well. So
really, really well, exactly. So, folks, if you want something to watch, I mean, definitely it's on my watch list. Yeah, if you want something to watch this week, then check out Black Mirror. It's going to be a good one, and let us if you do watch it, let us know what you think.
mm,
Let's move on a bit now. Let's move on to this one. Yeah, Avatar. Avatar. I didn't realize this. Avatar: The Way of the Water is already out on Disney Plus. I just thought, wow. But this
yeah,
is is
this
this
is
is
like
this like
the
a
making
documentary
of
making
it's a
of it? Okay.
documentary inside Pandora's box, but Pandora's box was never meant to be opened, was it? So
Exactly, but
it's up
he
to
opened it.
take your own take
Yeah,
your own risk
James Cameron did.
on viewing this one. But yeah, um, this one's it's recent, and that's why it's on the list
Yeah,
to view to watch.
yeah, and I guess a lot of people will be interested because obviously it was like it made this movie Avatar: Way of the Water. It did over 1 billion, at the box
Yeah,
office. We're going to get a 3, 4, 5, and
yeah,
God knows what else. So for people, it will be interesting to see how they actually made it, why it took so long.
yeah.
Like, geez, the movies for James Cameron, these movies they take 10 years to make or whatever.
Because he
So
waits for the technology, as they say. He waits
yeah,
for the technology.
technology. So that'll be
Yeah,
interesting. If that floats your boat, keeping it with the water pan.
no
Uh,
pun.
then yeah, yeah. So check that one out. And the other one that we're going to speak about is this one. So now we've reviewed this on the show. Actually, Duval, he went out and watched this maybe about a month ago or something. So it's pretty quick that it's out on Amazon. But this is Guy
Mm,
Ritchie's The Covenant,
yeah,
and yeah. So when he reviewed it, he said it was a decent kind of war movie. Jake Gyllenhaal, uh,
yeah.
is in Afghanistan and has to help out a local person and everything like that. I haven't had a chance to watch it. Have you seen this, Emmanuel?
I actually watched it
Yeah,
before everyone else. Yeah, so uh,
nice. I
so
can't
when
remember. I mean, what did you think of it? Because I haven't seen it yet.
see for me, I didn't know I did because it was an early screening before you're not allowed to mention
Ah,
it. You're
yeah,
not allowed to mention
yeah.
it. I I realized that it's a war it's a war movie, and I for me personally I don't those movies don't gain my interest. So
Right.
for me, it was kind of like okay,
Bit meh.
it's,
Okay, yeah.
it's
But
soldiers at war.
for me, I find it weird. Is it's like it's called Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. I wonder why he's gone. Why they've done that? Why he's gone for that? He's never done that for any other movie of his.
Not unless he's trying to make moves and um, I guess he staked his name on it, so he believes in this movie. So
Yeah, because I know we kind of used to have with Quentin Tarantino, it's like Quentin Tarantino's eighth film, Quentin Tarantino's
mm,
ninth film. Like, you had that.
mm,
And back in the day, directors would do that. But
yeah,
yeah, I wonder. Like, yeah, you're right. He might be making moves. It's like this is a Guy Ritchie movie. Like,
yeah.
you know exactly what you're getting.
I mean, the other director I can think of is Tim Burton. He
Tim
puts his names.
Burton, yes.
Yeah, he puts his names
Yeah,
on
real
movies.
kind of visionary kind of film director. All right, okay. So
Yeah.
if you haven't seen that, folks, go check it out. If you've got an Amazon subscription, go check that one out. And the other one that I want to speak about is this. I've actually been watching this. This is called Platonic, and this is on Apple Plus. And I heard like kind of a few things about this. Some people mentioned it. I read some reviews. It stars Seth Rogen, and either you like Seth Rogen or you hate Seth
Mm.
Rogen. I don't mind. He can be funny. Sometimes he can be a bit too loud, but
Yeah.
he's actually quite decent in this. And it stars Rose Byrne, who's an Australian actress, and she's been in Marvel. She's been in X-Men. She's done horror movies like Insidious and things like that. So she's done
Mm.
kind of like a few things. So she's a really good actor. And so in this, they play two friends. Um, Seth Rogen, he's recently divorced. Rose Byrne, she's got a family. She's got like a husband, 3 kids, and they were friends when they were in college. They haven't seen each other for about 5, 6 years.
Mm.
He's recently divorced, and then they kind of meet up, and then it's about their relationship. And one of the questions that comes up is, right, is the relationship platonic? Can a man and a woman really just be right? And these two, they've got great chemistry. I have to say, they've got great chemistry. It's really
Yeah.
funny. He owns a pub, and she's a lawyer. And these two worlds, they kind of collide. And she's kind of a bored housewife, and he's coming out of a divorce, and he hasn't grown up, and she
I can already
wants to
see
have
this
more
ain't going to be
fun.
platonic. The guy owns
And
a bar.
it hasn't finished yet. So new episodes drop every week. Apple. Oh my god, they do this thing
They
where
do some really good series.
yeah, they do so, and they don't release everything all at once. So they
Mm.
drop the episodes every Wednesday. So you kind of got to invest in it. So I've been watching
Mm.
it. It's actually quite funny. I've been surprised actually how good it is.
Yeah.
Episodes are only about half an hour long. So yeah, for folks, if you're interested in that, it's quite a decent show. So you can catch that on Apple Plus if you got a subscription over there. Let's move on to trailers. So I wanted to add this one in. This one came up on my watch list on YouTube. I love kind of going through some of the new trailers that are on there. Now this one is horror. It
Mm.
stars Anthony Starr, who we'll know from The Boys. He plays Homelander.
Mm.
And Emmanuel, you know how in Homelander he's a scary when he loses his shit, he's actually quite scary, right? And
What is he, like a sociopath?
he's a,
Psychopath?
he's a sociopath. And
Yeah.
and in this movie, he plays a dad who he's just basically he's playing Homelander. He looks like a sociopath in this movie as well. So his kid is having nightmares, or he's imagining things, but
Mm.
he can hear knocks in the walls. So every so often, the kid is trying to go to bed, but then he
Mm.
can hear knocks on the walls, right?
Okay.
And I tell you
Noisy
one thing,
neighbor.
right? It's actually really, really creepy. So the mum is like, "There's no knocks on the walls." The dad, Anthony Starr, is like, "There's no knocks on the walls," and basically the kid slowly, slowly starts to lose his shit. So he goes to school,
Right.
he draws paintings, he tells the teacher, he's like, "Help me." He draws a picture where it's like it's him, he's holding his ears, and he's like, "Help me." So the teacher contacts the mum, and the teacher's like, "Listen, like, your son needs help. He's
Yeah.
crying for help." And the mum's like, "Did you draw this? Did you draw this?" The dad is unhinged. He's basically doing a Homelander. There's some sort of scare. There's some evilness going on in the house,
Yeah.
and I was just like, "Oh my gosh, this does actually look creepy." But here's the thing, Emmanuel: it's everything that we've seen in a horror movie or before.
Okay.
It's
So
it's everything. The crazy parents, the boy who maybe is imagining stuff, the creaky floorboards, the noise in the walls, the mum that looks really scary. There's a shot of her smiling, like, looking very, very creepy,
no,
jumping. We've seen it all before. So I don't know if this is going to be like everything that we've seen before, if this is actually going to be something new. Does it bring something new to the game? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Horror movies again, isn't my genre.
It's not your thing. Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
my thing. Only because the reason why is because when it's a horror movie, you can only get the scare once,
Yeah.
and and it's done.
Yeah, it's done, right? Yeah. Like, how many more can they get out of you? It's like, how many knocks are they going to do on the wall? And you're like, okay, like, and it's so funny because we've seen like quite a few, like, these, horror movies and stuff like that. So I don't know. I saw it's called Cobweb. I saw
Mm,
it and I was like, okay, yeah, it looks a bit creepy, but so were the 15 other movies that we saw over the last couple of years. They were like,
yeah,
exactly. I don't know. Your mileage, your mileage might be different. So go check that one out. Now, the other one, this is The Witcher season 3. We actually haven't spoken about this. Henry Cavill is back. This is going to be his last turn as Geralt because Chris Hemsworth's brother, I always forget the brother's name. It's one of the Hemsworth brothers. It's not Chris
yeah. Who's
Hemsworth.
going to be replacing him?
It's going to be taken over in season 4. So
Mm,
for me, when I watched this trailer, I was like, okay, so this is Henry Cavill's swan song. It's like,
mm,
let's go out on a bang. There's this him slicing people up. There's going to be magic. There's going to be, fighting. There's going to be obviously sword and sorcery, all that sort of stuff. And it was this move. This role was tailor made for Henry Cavill. He apparently he grew up playing the games. He grew
he's a
up doing.
gamer.
He's a gamer.
He's a gamer. So yeah,
But
he's
the problem was apparently is that he demanded too much from Netflix, and he was upset in the direction that they were trying to take the character, and he was like,
yeah.
"This isn't how it's done. Like, it should be like this." And there was a clash, basically.
I think Henry needs to calm it down.
Yeah,
He, he's just building this reputation and has done of being that difficult employee to work with that person.
yeah,
I mean, there's loads of people I know who love them in Superman and Mission Impossible, and they're like,
yeah.
he fits the bill. But I'm like, yeah, there's that, but then it's like, imagine going to work or having to go to work with someone
And he's going to
just
be
going
like,
to make your job.
yeah, he's like, actually, Gerald wouldn't say that. He would say this, and like, or he wouldn't do that. He would do this, and
Henry,
apparently he would
doesn't
go
matter.
back to the
Just stick to
writers.
the script, do your
I
job.
know, yeah.
Like,
Apparently, he would go back to the writers and say, no, no, he wouldn't say this, and they get
yeah,
stuff with him. Sometimes studios want an actor who just reads the flipping lines, who just reads the flipping lines, just read them as they are. Do the job, and so we can go home.
I
you
want
know.
peace. I don't want trouble.
Exactly. Imagine that. Like, listen, you're just getting paid. Look, listen, we just want you to read what's on the line. Like, don't change anything. Just do
Mm,
what's said. So yeah. So we'll see how this pans out. I'm gonna watch it. We'll watch it and we'll just see what it's
yeah.
like. And then we'll just kind of obviously keep an eye on how Liam
I mean, I
Hemsworth or
can
whatever
just,
it
I
is.
can just, I just got this feeling that you know what, someone has probably already said to him, look, Henry, if you feel that good, why don't you put your name on the movie and then come up with a script and everything?
Exactly.
We'll do
Yeah.
do it yourself. But he probably shied away from that. It's
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. And imagine if people kind of like have an idea of a film and they're like, should we get Henry Cavill? Maybe is he going to bring?
nah.
Is he going to be the lead? Is he going to do this? Is he going to do that? And yeah. I mean, look, he lost the Superman gig, but I
Mm,
don't think. I don't think it was because of his meddling in with all that sort of stuff. I think it was purely because James Gunn was going in a totally different direction. He wants to
mm,
reboot, recast, and that whole egg on the face with Black Adam, him,
mm.
coming at the end of Black Adam and everything. It was just kind of poor. It's like, why did they let that happen, man? That's bad.
I heard that. I heard that there was even one or two scenes that in the Flash that got scrapped, but
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we'll get to
Yeah.
that. We're moving on to that. All right, let's do anniversary corner, and we've got kind of a few movies that we're going to speak about, and they fit in really well with obviously the main movie that we're going to be speaking about. So we've
Mm.
got DC. We've got a lot of DC at the moment. So we've got Man of Steel, which is 10 years ago. Shit,
10 years, man.
2013, and
Time flies, you know.
mate, time flies. And do you remember the whole thing when with Man of Steel, with the whole casting of Henry Cavill? Do you remember the whole thing? There was like, right, who they're going to get? Like, who's going to be the new Superman? It's got to be,
Mm.
Christopher Reeve. He's got to fill those shoes. And who was the guy before Henry Cavill? What was his name again?
I don't know.
Brandon. Brandon. Do you remember Brandon, the Bryan Singer one?
I can't. I can't put my name on it.
Yeah, so Bryan Singer, the Superman.
Oh, was it Brian Singer? It was. Yeah, he. I'm gonna fuck
Yeah,
up here, but he wasn't the one who plays Ant-Man in.
No.
Oh,
So,
Brian
so
Singer's the
Brian,
director. Yeah, sorry, Brian
yeah,
Singer.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Brian
and that
Singer's the
was the
director,
one
and
where the
then
trailer has the bullet going to the eye, right? And
that's
then
it.
yeah, that's
And
it.
then he just basically, yeah. So that
Yeah.
was, I remember that was back in 2006, and that movie didn't obviously do like particularly well. So it took them a long time from that to 2013. So Man of Steel, and yeah, Henry Cavill.
Mm,
Henry. A lot of people said we need someone with stature, with a big size, and kind of to do
mm,
that whole thing. This was Zack Snyder. This was the start of the Zack Snyderverse. A lot of people loved. A lot of people really liked this movie. It
mm.
did really well at the box office, and a lot of people didn't like it. They were like, he didn't have the charm. He was. A lot of people said that he was too serious.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. I heard that as well, and I think that I heard as well that like some few people thought that he played more of an evil Superman than a good Superman because of
Yeah.
how serious he was.
I
You
found him.
know,
I just found him too serious, and
he
like
doesn't
you
look
don't.
like the Boy Scout that the
Yeah, like
character is.
they're like the guy, like the Clark Kent clumsy person who'll
Yeah,
fall over and like drop things, and because
yeah,
that was the Clark Kent persona. He's got to become like totally opposite of Superman. And with these movies, with the Snyderverse Superman, he was very kind of like, no, that's not how it's done. It's very kind of like this, and
mm,
so yeah, a lot of people. But I mean, if you haven't seen Man of Steel, go check it out. I mean, it was that whole over the last 10 years, the Snyderverse, and it kind of built out. And then we had obviously the Batman versus Superman, and that whole thing, came about, which some people liked. Again, some people derided. They didn't like, and
mm.
the Justice League and all that sort of stuff. So go back and check this one out if you haven't seen it. And then the other one, we have to go back to before that to a damn right absolute stone cold classic. Some people call the greatest DC trilogy ever made. This is The Dark Knight,
Yeah.
and Christopher Nolan. And some people will say to you that this is the high point for the DC universe.
Mm. Yeah, no, this is one of my favorites. It's
Oh,
still it's
it's
still up
amazing.
there.
It's still up
Yeah,
there. It's got basically everything: great storytelling, great directing, great acting, and it has a darker tone. Like those Christopher Nolan movies, they were darker, and
yeah.
then maybe Zack Snyder wanted to carry that on, you know. But I don't
Mm.
know.
I mean, this was what Heath
This is
Ledger,
this is
Christian
Heath Ledger's,
Bale, yeah,
Christian Bell.
and Morgan
Uh,
Freeman,
oh, mate, this, and you know what? That
Michael
opening,
Caine. It
the
was.
bank scene. Um, so the opening bank scene was kind of like when you watch that on the IMAX, it's just so honestly,
I
like
watched it. I
really,
watched it
yeah,
IMAX as well.
really great opening because like wide angle lens that they used, and
Mm.
get this introduction to kind of like the Joker, and we think shit, this is like great and everything. So yeah, man, folks, if you haven't seen the Dark Knight trilogy, you're seriously missing out. You need to go watch those before you watch this main movie that we're going to be speaking about, which is going to be The Flash. Now, Emmanuel and I, we went out and watched this. It's fresh in our minds. It's just only been released like a few days ago around the world. I think it only came out on Friday the 16th in America, actually.
Right.
So,
Okay.
um, you watched it on the Wednesday, I watched it on the
Yeah.
Thursday, and then it was released kind of everywhere else on the Friday. And the hype surrounding this movie is incredible because apparently this movie was done like a year ago. Like this movie should have come out a while ago. COVID happened. They, they kind of had to delay things. But
Yeah.
also, I think somewhere in there, Emmanuel, I'm not sure. Maybe you might know this. Was there some reshoots going on as well because of we heard Aquaman 2, there was reshoots going on. There was maybe those guys, Andy Muschietti, knew about James Gunn taking over. Did they figure maybe, right, how is this going to all plan out? Maybe we
Yeah.
have
There
to
was
change
a whole heap of shit, wasn't there? I mean, there was.
whole whole backstory behind the whole Flash, right?
Yeah.
Then add to that the flipping Ezra Miller. He
Mm.
they flipped out. Like there was kind of like behind the scenes, he got arrested in Norway or Sweden or in Scandinavia
Yeah.
somewhere. There's video footage of him strangling someone, and
Yeah.
then he was kind of got arrested for abuse or
But I think
something.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it stemmed from the loss of his mother or something like that, or he had a
Mm,
loss in the family, and
right.
then he just seemed to just go off the rails after that.
Yeah, and go off the rails. Absolutely right. There's video footage from TMZ, which I was watching, where he's being arrested, and he's just like clearly something's not right with
Yeah.
them,
Yeah.
and they need help. And then when over the last couple of months, apparently they have been receiving help, and the directors come out and said they've made progress. James Gunn has said they've made progress, etc. So mentally they are making progress, all right.
Mm.
And then whilst all that was happening, there was kind of reports coming out that Ezra Miller is amazing.
Mm.
Him as as Barry Allen is absolutely fantastic. And then Emmanuel, I have to mention this. This is where I'm going to start to get a bit annoyed. James Gunn
Mm.
came out and said this is the greatest superhero movie that he's seen. All right, James Gunn came out and said that, and then people like Stephen King said,
Stephen
uh,
King.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
totally blown away with it. Apparently, there was standing ovation. There was kind of like all this going on, and I'm like thinking,
My
shit.
spider senses started tingling when I started hearing hearing the thingy from Mission Impossible. What's his name? He even said something as well. Like
What,
these
Tom
actors.
Cruise? No, who?
Tom Cruise, yeah, Tom Cruise
Yeah,
saw it as well, and he said,
and
"Oh
he was
my
like,
gosh, it's amazing."
yeah, like this is
As soon
absolutely
as I
amazing.
start hearing those kind of things, it's like one of those really, those really like straight to DVD kind of movies where in the in the trailer it's like
Seriously. So listen, when you have James Gunn, the director of the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, who, let's face it, he went out on a bang, he went out on a high note, and he's probably been kind of the one who's had a lot of success within Marvel. When he turns around and says to you, it's one of the greatest movies, you're thinking, shit, okay, I better look. This is going to be some good stuff. So I
Hmm,
watched. I sat down, and maybe I don't know about your showing, Emmanuel.
hmm.
Uh, there were only six of us in this screening.
Oh,
I
I had less than
I
yeah.
watched a 9 p.m. showing, and there was flipping 6 of us. So I don't know
Oh, I,
whether or
I
not.
watched the first showing of the day.
All
So
right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that I kind of get. Like that I kind of get. I
yeah.
was watching 9 o'clock in the evening, and it was a Thursday night, and you're probably thinking, okay, yeah, Thursday night people are going to be out and about. Flipping, there were 6 of us. So I don't know whether people are interested in the Flash. I don't know whether there's kind of hype around the Flash in Australia. I mean, I don't know whether
Mm.
or not. But there were 6 people. Make of that what you will.
Okay, let me
Started.
let me just
Go on.
say with that, I'd say that we have to also consider that this is a pretty crowded month with a lot of blockbuster
Mm,
movies coming
true.
out as well.
True. No, absolutely. And remember, we've just had Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse just being
Yeah,
released.
yeah,
So that talks about multiversal universes. This is talking about multiverses. So there's a bit of competition in the air,
yeah.
and I'm just gonna come around and say I'm like, what the fuck was James Gunn? What did he watch? What movie did he watch where he thought this is the greatest superhero movie? And you've got to think about this. Marvel made Infinity War, which to me is kind of the high point. Like,
Yeah, but that's a high benchmark, man. That's
but how can a director basically say that this is the greatest superhero movie? And then after I watched the movie, I was like, yeah, it's obvious why he said it. He's the head of DC. He's got to sell tickets, and that's going to make people go out and watch the movie, right? So,
yeah.
so that's all fine. So I was annoyed about that. And I'm going to cut right to the chase, and then we're going to get into the nitty gritty of
Mm,
kind of what happens in the plot line.
let's
I'm
do
just
it.
going to turn around and say the movie is just, for me, it was decent. It was okay. It had
Mm.
some memorable moments, like seeing Michael Keaton come back as Batman. I was like, yeah, like, seeing the old timer get back into the bat suit, seeing that version of the bat suit and that bat car and, bat wing and everything
Oh
like that.
yeah, yeah,
That was pure nostalgia. And I thought, yeah, this is brilliant. This is great. I love those bits. I felt like as if Supergirl felt flat for me. I totally didn't buy into the whole Supergirl thing, that whole
For anyone
storyline.
who's listened this far, there's a spoiler alert from here on.
Oh
Just
shit! Yeah, spoiler alert. Definite spoiler alert. Ezra Miller as Barry Allen. Yes, he's great, and the interaction between Barry Allen and him going back to visiting his kind of whole thing.
mm,
Uh, you know, there is this chemistry, if you can kind of say that, because he's just he's riffing off of himself. But you know what? There were moments with the CGI where I could tell it was just pure CGI. And it
yeah,
took me out. Honestly, it took me out of the movie, and I hated DC for doing that.
right.
Now,
I, I,
I'm just one person. I'm just one person, right? I'm just one
yeah,
person. And clearly, I had the hype surrounding this movie was really, really huge. And at the end of it, I just thought, okay, this is great to an extent. But it's nothing, no way near like what James Gunn sold it as the one of the greatest superhero movies. No way, no way.
see, James Gunn sold you, but for my, from me, for me, where I entered the cinema
Yeah,
was with the spider senses tingling when James Gunn I hear James Gunn and Stephen King and these other people,
Tom
trying to
Cruise.
say that they're it's an awesome movie. Straight away, I was just like, hold on, is this going to be a really bad movie? And then the other part of me as well was, hold on, Manny, manage your expectations, keep it low.
Yes,
We know what the track record is with
trust
DC, so so
me.
keep it low,
I'm with you on this one. Yeah,
and only judge once you've seen it. So there's less of a disappointment
mm,
in
yeah.
what's
But
in
what
my
did you?
head
But what did
versus
you think?
what's on the
Were,
screen.
were you like so? Yeah, yeah.
I
So what did
enjoyed
you
I
think though?
enjoyed the
Did you think
movie.
like it was above average, or was it like what? Tell me your take on it.
I enjoyed the movie. I thought that the the humor, the sense of humor, the care that had gone into. When I say care, I mean the sort of like messaging in the movie was done well, and I thought Ezra Miller was a another level, much better than I'd seen him in the Schneider Cut. I thought this
Yeah,
was
this is
because
different. Yeah, big
yeah,
time.
because him Ezra versus Ezra, or the Flash versus Flash. I I I was fully convinced that they were two separate actors,
Mm,
and it didn't come across like the same actor, you know, trying to pull it off that they're a different character. Like the
yeah,
two work together as like to the
two
core
different
in
people.
yeah, as two different people. Um, so I enjoyed that, and then there was the care part of it was there was moments in the movie where the sensitivity of Barry came
Mm,
through in certain points, like when
with mum.
uh, yeah, his mum, the when he basically is talking to his dad, uh, when he tells the story about trying to when Zod came down and he was trying to save that's when he basically got the powers, and then
Yeah,
he was trying to save the kid and the parent and the father. He actually covered the kid's eyes when
yeah, yeah.
when
I noticed that.
yeah, when he knew that he couldn't save the father. And I thought that was actually quite touching,
Mm,
because
the
the
human
kid
touch.
was
Yeah,
distraught and he could only save the kid. And um, you know how the mechanism pulls people off the ground and
yeah.
then it slams them back down. He grabbed the kid and they were up in the air, so he had no traction to
Uh,
to do his flash thing.
yeah.
So when he came down, he was off, and that was the most he
That
could
was
do.
good.
Yeah,
You know, the sad thing about that is, so this is kind of a spoiler alert, is when we revisit that scene again, he's trying to save all that from happening, then that kid eventually does die.
yeah, yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, like, we invested in that so much, and then in the end, this time the boy dies, and
Yeah.
the dad dies and everything like that.
He
But no,
was
you're right.
he was explaining in his timeline though.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
did
that's true.
explain that it
Yeah,
was in his timeline. But
yeah.
yeah, that care, and then also what the bit that was that showed care as well, and I think it made reference to um, what is it, mental illness was.
Yeah.
I remember when I watched uh, not it wasn't Man of Steel. When Zod came down in what was the movie before, where we
Um,
saw that scene when Zod was basically destroying and
that was
Batman
in
was Superman.
Batman versus Superman, the beginning where
Yeah,
Batman's running down the street and everything.
yeah. So the call back was that scene, and when I was watching that movie, I was like, can you like these guys are destroying the whole entire city, and then that's gonna be that's like trauma and financial ruin for a lot of people. But
That's true.
and it kind of it connected to me when he was saving the nurse, and she was
Mm.
screaming, falling from. Imagine you
He's,
was
oh yeah, the
one
baby.
moment you're
Oh
up in the
god.
building and you're sliding off the building. Next
Yep.
thing you're on the ground, and
Yeah.
these babies that was sliding down with you
Yeah.
are all in front of
That
you.
whole thing was fun. No, it
Yeah,
was no, absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And yeah, and you know what? I am being harsh, but there were like moments in the movie which were actually really great. And look, folks listening to this episode, we haven't even spoken about the plot. So basically, let's just rewind now. Now let's rewind a little bit. So this takes place when? Yeah, this takes place after the events of Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman and
yeah,
Justice League and everything. So
yeah.
Barry Allen, he's got obviously everything. He's kind of older,
He's
and
experienced.
he's experienced, and Alfred calls up. Bruce Barry, and's like, hey Barry, we need you.
Yeah.
And then this beginning of the movie, at the beginning of the movie, there's this whole action sequence with Batman and Barry. They're kind of together. So it
Yeah.
was interesting to see, obviously, Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck's in the movie. He comes back and he dresses back up as
He
Batman.
suits
And
up as Batman.
yeah,
He's
he's a
got
Batman.
he's got a newer bike as well.
His bike, flipping hell. So he's got the gadgets and everything, that massive chin of his. And then also we had a cameo from Wonder Woman.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonder Woman
So-
turns up in this as well. And she cameoed in Black Adam. No, was it Black Adam? Sorry, Shazam.
Shazam. Yeah.
So she cameoed in Shazam. So Wonder Woman's popping up in all these different movies. So she pops up in this one and everything, and she goes off and she does the thing. But so Barry, he's really distraught because he still has the memory of what happened to his mum. She was
Yeah.
killed. His
He's still
dad.
working on the case of trying to
Exactly.
free
Still
the
working on
dad.
the case. And you know what was really jarring for me? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sanjeev Bhaskar. What was he doing? What was he doing as Barry's boss? That was so jarring. I was like, what? I was like, no, 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 no. Where did they get him from? Like, what? I was like, no, no, no. I was like, flipping out. Goodness gracious me. Like, what is going on over here, right? Like, seriously. And like his accent and everything, I just totally wasn't buying that, right? So Barry's kind of like, he's fumbling around. He's trying to get his dad out of prison, and he's got some footage and everything like that. And maybe it's going to exonerate his dad, but
Yeah.
he's hurt. He's cut up, and then he realizes that he can travel back in time. So he does a little lap around the city because he's pissed off, and he goes back a week or whatever, and
Yeah.
then he
Through
has a
anger and frustration, and just
anger,
yeah.
and that they lift that from the Flashpoint, comic book storyline, and that's what happens, in the comic books, where he does actually, rip through space time, and he does go back because Barry thinks that he can go back and save his mum.
Mm.
Bruce Wayne says to him, look, don't go messing around with the timelines because you don't know what's going to happen. And lo and
Yeah. And then
behold,
he explains the whole, touches on the butterfly effect, standing
butterfly
on a
effect.
wrong blade of grass and all of that. And
Exactly.
yeah.
So lo and behold, Barry, he does go back in time. He goes back, to when when he's 18 years old or whatever it is, and his mum's alive, his dad's not in prison, and he has this beautiful moment and everything. But then he does meet that version of Barry Allen. So like Emmanuel was saying, there's this kind of interaction between the two, and the thing is, he has to lose. So the Barry Allen from 2023, he loses his powers.
Mm. Yeah.
And then Emmanuel, the way he kind of goes, I love the whole thing where they're like, okay, we got to find Bruce Wayne. There's no metahumans in this basically universe. So when he goes back now, there's no Superman, there's no
Yeah,
Wonder
he's done
Woman.
the butterfly effect. He's gone back in time, and where he lands back in time wasn't to of his own accord though.
No,
But that one is another part of the plot later on in
yeah,
the movie.
which we can get
But
to.
yeah,
You're right.
but
Yeah, go for it. Go on.
yeah, but through going back in time, and then to the point in time where his mother's still alive, and his father is not he's not like whole incident hasn't occurred yet, and um, so he's really happy, and his mum sees him and goes, "Oh my god, like Barry, you cut your hair," and then the father's like, "What, Barry on time?" Because there's the whole joke that even
Yeah,
though he's the Flash, he's always
always
running late, and
which is from the
yeah,
comic. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah, yeah.
he's
So,
this
so
moment.
there's all that, so there's all that interaction and everything, but then slowly, Barry realizes that shit, this is causing like issues, and then Zod's kind of appearance comes along, and like
Yeah,
he's got to stop basically Zod, and then he needs help, and then he goes to find help, Bruce Wayne, and then
yeah,
it's not. it's not Ben Affleck as Batman, it's Michael Keaton as Batman. And then so this goes back to the whole kind of the 80s Batman, Tim Burton's Batman and everything like that. So that whole thing was all great. And there's one line where Batman, Michael Keaton's like, "You want to go nuts? Let's go nuts." And then
Yeah,
like,
which is
yeah,
a
you know, that is,
callback.
like I said before, the whole Batman stuff was brilliant. You know, Michael Keaton, there's a fight scene, and Michael Keaton, obviously it's not really Michael Keaton, the actor, doing the fight scenes, but I thought, wow, this guy, he kicks ass. He
Yeah,
really, really kicks ass and everything. And there's this
but
whole
his cape was much better. The costume, because it's bulletproof, which was different from Ben Affleck's entire
the way,
bulletproof suit,
the
wasn't
way,
it? Like,
and everything, and it's all bulletproof
yeah,
and everything. I think that was all wicked. That was all kind of, you know, goes back to the 80s Tim Burton Batman and everything. So there's moments in the movie where you're like, you know what, I love that. I love that whole thing.
yeah, he does
And
those
then,
callbacks, like the weight. He goes, "How much do you weigh?"
and then he pulls out the measuring, and then Ezra Miller's like, what? He's like, what's this? And then I thought that was really, really funny. And then we kind of get the whole suit. It's not Superman who crash landed on this universe. It's
It's his
Supergirl.
cousin. Yeah,
It's his cousin, so Kara, and then so there's that whole thing. I felt like as if that didn't get explored enough, but then again, this is a Flash movie. It's not a Supergirl movie. I totally understand all that. Then
but
we get
Star
Zod.
was so good though. I thought she was so good playing
Really
Supergirl.
good. She's
Yeah,
gonna get her own movie. She's gonna get her own movie.
she was really good. She
Yeah,
was.
and then at the end, there's this whole thing where before we get to that bit, mate, how is it possible that Barry Allen, so he loses his powers, he has to get his powers back?
Mm.
No, he's not. Was he a metahuman before? I don't know. Why is it that his body can sustain being electrified by lightning? I don't get it.
Twice.
Like, I don't get it. Why is his body able to sustain that? So does that mean that flipping, if I get electrocuted, I could become the Flash? Like, what? They didn't explain that.
Like there was a lot of moments in the movie where I had to suspend disbelief because
Yeah,
the first scene was awesome.
yeah,
If the physics of it and the science of, Barry being able to, like, running low on energy, having to smash the vending machine,
yeah.
save the raining babies, and the nurse. If I had to
It's
think
funny
about
what.
the science for all of that, and how long it would have taken, and the fact that all of them probably would have been dead that he was
Yeah,
rescuing, because if I compare that to the boys, the physics in the boys makes more sense, where
yeah. I know.
they'll go splat going at that
Yeah,
kind of speed.
I love.
But
I love in the comic books they actually there's one storyline from the comic books is that the Reverse Flash. So in order for Flash to get his powers, it was actually the Reverse Flash who causes the lightning strike, and it's
mm,
the Reverse Flash's it gives Barry Allen his powers, because then in the future it's the Reverse Flash. So it's this kind of this whole time paradox. So if the Flash doesn't get his powers, then the Reverse Flash isn't able to become the Reverse Flash in the future and everything. So he goes back in time and
yeah,
he's the one who causes that. So they gloss over that whole thing, and it's just literally the fact is that Barry Allen, it has to get electrocuted and then he gets powers of the Flash.
yeah.
So I mean,
But yeah, it didn't it him getting struck by the lightning twice didn't make sense, because, as most people know, you're lucky if you get
yeah,
struck by lightning
by
once
lightning.
and survive. But with Kara, she must have taken the
Some
residual on the second one.
Kryptonian, yeah. There must be some Kryptonian, something Kryptonian going on in there. But anyway, he gets his powers, and then there's this massive face-off between Zod,
Zod.
the other Kryptonians, Supergirl. They're smashing people out, but every single time, Kara, Supergirl, she dies, and then
Yeah,
Barry is like, "No, we got to fix this." So he keeps going back in time, back in time,
but
back
that's
in
because
time, back
that
in
but
time.
that's because that's we'll call the one in the past Barry 2, and Barry 1 is the one that starts off in the movie, right?
Yeah.
So Barry 2, he's new. Remember, he's inexperienced, and so he wasn't. He There's a lot of stuff that he doesn't pay attention to when Barry 1 is explaining to him about his universe versus
Yeah.
what's going on, because he was like, oh, what? He's Batman? And he was like, yeah, what do you think I was taking you to? Like, in my universe, there's
Yeah.
the Justice League, and in
Yeah.
this universe, I don't know whether there's any Justice League at all. But
Yeah.
the commonality was that there was a Batman in both universes,
Yeah.
which Barry one went to meet. And what I like is that Michael Keaton does a good explanation of the multiverse and the timelines,
The
where
spaghettis, which
the
is brilliant.
spaghetti, and so the reason why it fa- the it fails, the battle fails the first time and keeps on failing multiple times, is because Barry 2 forgets the lesson taught, saying that there's a junction, in the whole multiverse, there's one crossover part where you cannot change. So you can keep on repeating it,
Mm.
but like that part is so strong. It's appears in every single version of it. It's a bit like the one moment or one uh, luck where Doctor Strange, in was it
Doctor
the End
Strange
Game? Yeah,
and
and he goes,
the million
what's
variations of it. Yeah.
yeah. So so
Yeah.
that he doesn't get it, whereas Barry one, he's like, I get
He
it.
realizes.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then, by Barry doing all of that, we get his next one. We get kind of like an evil Flash who has been doing that, and he's become so kind of corrupted by
and
trying to
obsessed.
fixated or obsessed with kind of
Yeah,
fixing things. He then turns out to be like, in the comic books there was one kind of speedster called Savitar,
that's it.
and this
Yeah,
is yeah, it was kind of similar to The Flash, the TV show, The Flash on the CW, where um, I think they might have even taken that idea from that, actually, where Barry Allen in the TV show is Savitar, so they've kind of
mm.
used that one. But here's the thing, Emmanuel. So while all these worlds, universes are colliding, they start opening up. We get, oh my god, we get all these.
All the
I can't say
cameos.
cameos, because what they've done is they've digitally kind of recreated these characters, and they brought
But they are
back. They
cameos,
brought
aren't they? Though, because we
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
expecting them, and they did make an appearance. They're referenced from
from old,
shows and
like there was,
TV. Yeah,
yeah,
past.
Christopher
Yeah,
Reeve, Helen Slater, they come back as Superman and as Supergirl. Then you had George Reeves, I think his name is the old. Then you had
yeah.
Adam
George
West as
Reeves was the
Batman.
original Batman.
Yeah, exactly.
The
All
'70s
of that going
Batman.
on, and then
Uh,
the massive big spoiler, or this is
you
going to
had
be a
Adam
huge
West
spoiler.
as well,
Yeah,
who
Adam West.
was
This is a
Adam
huge
West.
spoiler. In the 1990s, James Cameron, or I think it was James Cameron or someone, was working on a Superman movie called Superman Lives, and Nicolas Cage was
That
going
was
to
Tim
actually be.
Burton.
So it was Tim Burton, yeah.
Tim Burton,
Yeah.
yeah,
So Tim Burton was going to be making this movie called Superman Lives, and it was going to be Nicolas Cage as Superman, and he screen tested for it, and they
yeah.
used that footage, and we see Nicolas Cage. So that was
But
a
remember,
great little callback.
Nicolas Cage is also a massive Superman fan. He bought
Huge.
the first ever issue as well of Superman and had to
Yeah.
sell it for like 2 mil because he was in financial difficulty
Yeah.
and still is in
Yeah.
financial difficulty.
He
But
he gave himself he named himself after Luke Cage. Named himself,
and I think
yeah,
his son, he named his son Kal-El as well
Kal-El.
because
Yeah,
yeah,
he's like a huge Superman fan. So there's that little kind of bit of a callback and everything. So there's all those things, and like, obviously fan service, like, there's a lot of that going on.
yeah.
And then
You
for
had the guy
me,
from
so
what
yeah,
is
go
it,
on.
Teddy Sears from the CW series as well, who was
Yes,
as Jay Garrick in
yes,
that in
exactly. There was the
in
old
that
school Jay Garrick in there as well.
yeah.
So that was all good to kind of seeing those characters. So they kind of do all that, and then Barry Allen realizes, look, no, if I, the kind of that that point where the universes collide type of thing. It's his mum, right? So his mum
Yeah.
has to die for all the other universes to survive.
Mm.
So
Because
that happens.
to me, that was the definitive difference between Barry 1 and Barry 2, was that
Mm,
they both felt the pain in 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 the loss of life, I'd say, and wanting to do right. But with Barry 1, his pain was the loss of his mother. With Barry 2, his mother was still alive, but it
mm.
was a loss of Batman and Kara, who he had a
Oh
crush
yeah,
on because he took the
yes.
took the
Because he took
picture.
the picture, and then he was like, yeah, I see that.
And he couldn't let that go. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, mate. So listen, look, from me, there's definitely some moments in the movie where like I said before, it's great, and there's I'm like, yes, this is great with the whole Batman stuff, and there's some fun bits and everything like that, right? But overall, like I said before, I felt kind of like lied to. Like
You need to
this
write to
is
James
great.
Gunn, man.
I know, man. I seriously, I just like. And listen, here's going to be a massive spoiler, right? Here's another massive spoiler. So when Barry kind of does everything, he fixes the universes, he fixes the multiverses,
Oh yes,
he comes back to his universe, or so he seems his universe.
yeah.
Batman calls him up and says, "Hey, Barry, like, let's meet up and everything." And his car pulls up, and this was actually really quite good. This was
Lo and
actually a
behold,
really, yeah. Lo and behold, it's not his Batman. It's not Ben Affleck. It
no,
is George
George
Clooney.
Clooney.
And I was just like, that was really good. I thought that was actually really, really good. And then they
Because
end the
he
movie
couldn't
there.
resist. He still couldn't resist moving the tin can from the
Yeah,
shelf to the top of the shelf where
so-
his
yeah,
father was
his
not
family.
looking.
Oh yeah, by the way, yeah. So yeah, so his dad does get exonerated and everything. So there is that as well. So you do get to see his dad's face in the video, and that kind of exonerates him. So we know now that the dad didn't kill the mum, but they never
Mm,
explained who killed the mum.
no, no. But I guess that could be explained in the Flash too if they want to do that, because I think it's only taken like 2.7 mil already, and which isn't great, but it's it's in
Still
line
very
with like
good.
Aquaman
Yeah.
and other movies. But yeah, if it hits 80 mil, then we could see another a Flash two.
We could see another one, right? I don't know how this all fits in with the James Gunn universe, because this was made part of the Snyder universe, I think, and everything.
Right.
So we'll see what happens. But here's the thing: so after the credits roll, there is an end credit scene, and I'm thinking, yeah, this is going to be great. Let's see how this all fits up. Emmanuel, can you explain to me what was the whole meaning behind that end credit scene? I don't get it, honestly. Maybe
I
I'm
don't
so dumb, I don't know.
know. I don't. I don't know either. I saw the end credit, and the end basically the end credit is Aquaman and him and the Flash walking out of a bar. It sounds like the
Hmm.
beginning of a bad joke, but
Yeah, it does.
Aquaman is drunk. The Flash is explaining that he can't get drunk because of his fast metabolism,
Hmm.
and Aquaman basically passes out on the street into a massive puddle, and then the
Yeah.
Flash goes, "Oh, but we need to get home." And then Aquaman jokes and says, "I'm already home," because he's in the
Because he's in
pud,
the
he's
water.
face
He's
down in
in
the
a puddle.
puddle. Yeah,
So,
I think they just did that just so then people wouldn't be disappointed that there isn't an end credits.
yeah.
I
So,
think that was it.
so my takeaway from that is that it's a movie that isn't probably so it's not connected to anything else. It's just a standalone movie. So we don't know if anything else is coming along. Is
Well,
it
we know.
connected?
I think at the time, Aquaman was supposed to be coming out after this, and that's the reason why Aquaman 2 has been held back, as well as what's her name,
Mm.
who who was in court with Johnny
Oh,
Depp,
Amber Heard.
Amber
Yeah.
Heard. Yeah. So it from my recollection, it was always meant to come after the Flash,
Right.
and so with Aquaman being at the end credit was probably just like a little tease or be like anticipation that Aquaman is next
Yeah.
to come, which we're still waiting for Aquaman 2. I don't know whether they're going to make it disappear
Yeah.
or happen later on. But yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. I just sometimes you think of the end credit scenes. You think, okay, end credit scenes can be one of two things. Either they kind of it's to set something up for another movie, and you think, oh wow,
mm,
this is coming, or it's kind of like a recall to a joke or something like that. And
mm,
in this one, I was like, okay, like fine, all right, it's a bit comedic. We get to see Aquaman. Aquaman stays the same in all the universes apparently, and so I don't know. So for me, it's a look, like I said before, it's decent. There's some great bits in there, but it's not wow for me. And
mm.
I don't know if it's going to break the box office records, if we're going to see another Flash. But clearly, he's a decent Barry Allen. Let's
Yeah.
no kind of qualms about that. And
It's
hopefully,
still
yeah,
up in the air with Ezra anyway. So I don't think we're going to see a Flash 2 anytime soon, unless he
the heat dies down on him.
the heat dies down on him. And but I'd say that go with low expectations, so
Yeah.
then you avoid disappointment. But the jokes was to me classic of Barry Allen,
Mm.
because he even made fun of it himself when he met Barry too, and was like, oh my god, you're so annoying, now I
Yes, so,
realize
yes.
what.
Yeah. There was a funny bit in the movie where Barry won. He thinks that
Oh,
he's
he's
so
running.
powers and he's running around. I thought that was quite funny, and that him crashing into
And he
the
tries
wall
to
and
phase
everything.
through the wall.
Yeah, yeah. So, like I said
There
before, there's
are
some
funny bits in the
really,
movie.
there's some really
Yeah.
great funny bits in the movie. But overall, yeah, just expect. Look, it's DC. It's DC,
Mm.
and we'll have to wait until James Gunn comes in with the whole Superman thing. Um, and yeah, we'll see what happens. So look, there's our take on it, folks. I'm pretty sure we'll be speaking about the Flash for another week or so, because it'd be interesting to get Duval's take on it.
Mm.
And but yeah, I mean, Emmanuel, I don't think I've got enough time to do Extraction 2, because that is a movie that deserves
That's
another,
yeah.
yeah,
That
that deserves another about half an hour, and I just don't think we've got
that was
that one.
another meaty one as well.
It was a
Yeah.
meaty one, because in that movie, there's one scene in particular, Emmanuel. Um, there was one fight scene in the prison
Oh
where,
yeah, I know the one you're talking about.
oh
Yes.
mate, that apparently that's a all one take, that fight scene, and it took them about a month or a month and a bit to actually film it, but to plan for it took about 6 months.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. You know what it made me feel like? It made me feel like I was watching one of those cutscenes in a game.
In a game.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, I felt exactly the same. Oh shit. So listen, look, folks, you'll have to kind of tune into us on another episode where we speak about Extraction 2. It's definitely a film that you should definitely watch.
One to watch.
And we
Yeah.
can speak, yeah, it's definitely one to watch. But listen, look, we hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you. I want to just say thanks again to Emmanuel. Thanks a lot for coming on the show. It's always a pleasure chatting to you about movies. And remember, keep a lot with the Flixters. We're on every week. Download us, watch us on YouTube.